The first fighter in this matchup, representing GMMA Academy. Would you please welcome Samir Abou Khzam. And his opponent, representing the Jacopon Gym. Please welcome Joe Chucks.
The undercard rolls on here at Next Generation Combats. Chris Bachador in charge for this one. Red corner from the Jacopon Gym, Joe Chucks. Blue corner from GMMA Academy, Samir Abou Khzam. Joe Chucks, 25, 6'3". 3-inch clubs. This will be his first actual fight in the ring, Malcolm.
And what a way to start your career here on the undercard of what is going to be a great event. And it'll be interesting to see how he copes with the pressure of that, because interclubs, they're a good breeding ground, but there's nothing like being in the ring on a televised show in front of a big crowd. And for me, Khzam really starting to ask questions early to say, let's see what your resolve is in your first bout here, especially that left leg and right hand combination. As you and I know, a bread and butter combination, but it works so well.
Nice oblique kick there, Phil. Wow, Samir Abou Khzam has just stayed in his face and is throwing hell for leather right now so far. Joe Chucks with the kick catch and counter right hand. Every single shot in this contest has been thrown to knock you out, including that rear teep to the face from Joe Chucks.
I think it's the right tactic from Khzam, Chris. If he's done his homework on his opponent and realizing he's making his in-ring debut, let's make it uncomfortable for him. Let's really put the pressure in. And there's one thing with tournaments, there's another thing with sparring, but when you've got a person in there that wants to knock you out, it makes the difference.
Oh, he chinned him, Malk. He chinned him. He caught him with that right cross. Joe Chucks ate that shot, and you would not notice from the look on his face how cleanly it landed.
Well, he's had to take another right hand, and Khzam is starting to land that right hand at will. He's come forward very aggressively, as we said, and he's asked questions of Joe Chucks straight away, and this is where we find the answers, Chris.
The power of Samir Abou Khzam is deceptive. He is standing, though, flat-footed and throwing big power punches. Nice low kick. That's the time when you want to mix it up. If a guy thinks they're going to throw hands, you chop to the legs. Again.
Well, you mentioned the flat-footed nature of his approach. It's because it's exactly as you said. He's not worried about coming in on Joe Chucks, and when he's flat-footed like that, he can get real power into that rear leg. Now, for me, Joe Chucks has survived to the end of the round, but it was all about Khzam, and as we said, those tactics to stay in front of his opponent and really put him under pressure right from the off, whatever came back at him.
Well, let's take a look at some of the action here. We just saw good techniques from both guys and a ton of power. There was no feeling out process. Abou Khzam waltzing forward. Chucks trying to counter him midair with that right. Superman punch in response from Abou Khzam.
Well, he set that right hand up the whole time. I mean, as you saw, Chucks got some good shots in, but the problem for him was Khzam was happy to stay here, whatever was thrown, and as you said, stay flat-footed, so when he threw the shots, they carried real power each time, as did the low kicks. Look where he is all the time. There you go, that's that low kick you alluded to, because he's flat-footed. He's not worried about what's coming back. That's a dangerous man. Also, it can be dangerous for him if something really big does come back from Chucks.
Yeah, he did a really good job as well, despite being flat-footed, of kind of stepping across the center line to load that kick up, swing through, and shift across the center line. But so far, a different Joe Chucks has landed a right cross now. More urgency, and I think trying to fight fire with fire so far.
There's a thing to be said. Oh, that wobbled him again, Chris. The legs went. Just as I was about to say, there's something to be said in your debut, just getting back to your corner at the end of the first and saying, I can do this. And then you tend to come out with a different attitude. And he's done that. And for the first time, you see a bit of showboating for Khzam that actually says, do you know what, I felt that.
Chucks is going for it here, but he's gotten a count, it looks like. Abou Khzam in a little bit of trouble here. Chris Bacheldor not allowing any coaching.
Well, this is what I said, Chris. He's come out, he's made it to the end of the first round, renewed vigor and renewed attempts, and it's paid off. And what I said to you at the end of the first round is proven here. It's a dangerous game both ways, because staying there in the pocket and willing to take whatever your opponent throws at you has just caused Khzam to get the count. But it makes it great for us.
Chucks is swinging for the fences here, and after coming out of that first round, I think, down.
You're right.
He has come back in a huge way, make that 10-8 so far for Joe Chucks.
And this is the thing for Khzam, when you mention about fighting fire with fire, there's also that phrase, live by the sword, die by the sword. That's what's happened to Khzam in this second round. He's still been unwilling to take a backward step. But Joe Chucks has gone back to his corner. His corner said, hey, you're still here. You're still in this. Now go out there and get him. That belief grows when you get back there. And it's made and look at that, a beautiful stiff jab.
Very nice jab. And avoiding anything in the way of leg kicks. I mean, he did get a oblique kick there a moment ago, but Joe Chucks has addressed the chaos, if you will, of Sameer Abou Khzam, and is now fighting with more accuracy and making that power count. I mean, talk about a guy who has come to the last 2 NGC shows. He said, I came as a spectator, now I'm here as a fighter, and this means everything to me. You know what? 4 minutes into this fight, he's making the most of it.
He controlled that second round, Chris. Khzam, we talked about strategies earlier in the evening on the undercard. Khzam hasn't got a plan B. When you're such an exciting fighter, sometimes that doesn't matter. But when, as you mentioned the term, you match fire with fire, then a lack of a plan B can matter. And that's why Joe Chucks was so successful. There was no change for Khzam. But when the shots came back just as strongly, eventually he had to will. And this is the difference.
Let's talk about this here so far, because we saw some good boxing from both guys, but I think Joe actually had the better boxing in the second round. Nice popping jab there. He mentioned that the biggest difference in his pre-fight interview was the footwork. He said, my coaches really addressed some of the issues I had. They called me Bambi on ice when I walked into the gym, but after a few months they sorted it out, and I used then my athletic prowess and my physique to fight with more intelligence and more
Chris.
technique.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no.
Bacheldor's just said it's over.
Has he called it?
I don't know if it's a shoulder injury or something, because they're pushing him down, and it's the right arm, I think. So the damage there to Khzam, the way he fights maybe, but I had to interrupt you there because Chris Bacheldor was saying, no, there's no argument for Khzam, but did you see the way he was like holding that right arm? And yet, for us, it would have set up a perfect round 3.
It looks to me like they've stopped it in between the rounds. He sat on a stool. What an unfortunate ending, as Joe Chucks and Sameer Abou Khzam were putting on an instant classic.
London, let's make some noise for Joe Chucks and Sameer Abou Khzam. Ladies and gentlemen, after 1 round of action, Sameer Abou Khzam is unable to answer the bell and continue. Therefore, your winner, via TKO from the Checkapunk Gym, Joe Chucks. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here alongside your winner, Joe Chucks. Joe, you told us in the pre-fight interview you came as a spectator to this show. Tonight you fought your first time in the ring in a decision fight and you got the win. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, what happened in that fight? It seemed in the first round he was coming at you with lots of crazy boxing. You got the footwork under control. You got the technique working for you. It was a totally different round too.
Yeah, it was. I hope it was going to go 3 rounds because I was hoping to come back in the 3rd round, but unfortunately he had to stop the fight.
Congratulations on your win, though. We'd love to have you back again. What do you think's going to come next? You talked about going into Muay Thai and more kickboxing. What's going to come?
Yeah, I think between Muay Thai and K1, so anyone that comes along will take the fight.
Joe, it was an awesome performance, a classic fight between you and your opponent. We look forward to seeing you again. Anything else to the fans?
No, I just want to say thank you for everyone who's supporting me. Thank you to my coaches, my teammates, Victor, and everybody there. Thank you.
Joe Trucks, ladies and gentlemen.